Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for attending the fifth session of our webinar series, Masters of Conversion, where you get to learn from the masterminds of winning website experiences. My name is Vipul, and I lead co-marketing for VWO, a full funnel experience optimization platform. Our master for tonight is the digital product design lead at Everlane, a direct-to-consumer retail brand. Join me in welcoming Nadia Sko. Hey, Nadia, it feels great to have you here.
Good morning. I'm excited to be here.
Thanks for doing this session, Nadia. So before I pass on this mic, this virtual mic rather, to Nadia, I just wanted to inform every one of you that we have reserved 10 minutes at the end of this session for a question and answer section. So send in your questions whenever you have one using the questions panel, and we'll take them in the end. With that, Nadia, the stage is all yours.
Great. Thanks, Vipul. Good morning, everyone, again. My name is Nadia, and I lead digital product design at Everlane. At Everlane, our mission is to make ethical basics like t-shirts and jeans accessible to anyone around the world. Before Everlane, I spent a couple of years in interactive design at Apple. My work focuses on creating thoughtful human experiences across digital and physical environments. Now, since we're talking about X and UX, I think it's important to first define what is experience? What does it mean? The Oxford Dictionary defines experience as an event or occurrence that leaves an impression on someone. Let's take a look at it closer. First time you go to a coffee shop and a barista creates a latte art, that is an experience. Getting up in the morning and stumbling on the coffee pot first thing in the morning is not. Why? Because you've done it hundreds of times, you do it every day, you probably don't remember your yesterday's coffee, let alone the coffee you had last week. Experience creates a feeling, it's not a habit. If I were to picture what experience looks like, it would look something like this. It's a combination of functions and disciplines which eventually manifest as the UI of your product. And UI is definitely crucial. It's very important, and there are no sales without it. The experience, however, sits at the center. It's the feeling that makes your product something special. It makes it memorable, different from the 1,000 other things that can perform exactly the same function. In other words, experience is a combination of different elements coming together. Now, what does this mean in the retail space? Now, take a moment and imagine that you got into backpacking and you are planning to go on a hike and you're looking for a perfect backpack. You can go online and research what kind of backpack you need, what would be the right one for the length of your hike, for your body, for the weight you're planning to carry. You may read some reviews, probably talk to a couple of friends to get their advice. But this is an REI store, and when you go to a store like REI, they'll measure you. They pick out a few backpacks for you that will fit you perfectly. Then they'll fill them with sandbags and ask you to hike up and down the stairs to see which one fits you best. Now, what REI did here is created an experience. And this is something that's really difficult to replicate online. What they do is they provide extra service and knowledge to beginning hikers, to their customers, so they have a highest chance of really having a great trip and a great hike. I believe that today, simply offering access to products is no longer enough to survive in retail. People expect more from stores than just a transaction. A great retail experience creates just that, an experience. Now, if simply accessing the products is not enough, then what is? What is this extra something that would really make your retail experience beyond just a transaction. I believe that good experience comes from making it seamless and making it frictionless. Let's take a moment and look at self-checkout machines as an example. You probably used one at some point, and I've used it myself many times at different stores. And I bet that very few people actually think that self-checkout is a great experience. In fact, if you Google self-checkout meme, you'll see dozens of those which speak to the fact that self-checkout was not really truly designed with the customer in mind. It definitely seems like a convenient idea in theory. You don't have to wait in line at the grocery store if you want to just quickly grab a bottle of wine on the way home. But in practice, what happens is the screens are confusing. Each store has a different UI and a different language, and you always have to wait for assistance to check if you're of a legal age or not to drink. But even if you're not buying alcohol, the chance is pretty high that the machine is going to start screaming at you, unexpected item in the bagging area, remove the item from the bagging area the moment you accidentally place your reusable bag on the scale. Now, this is a vivid example of when technology by itself is not a solution. In fact, one study found that 20% of people who've used self-checkout admitted stealing from them. And large companies like Kmart, they adopted the self-checkout and then ended up removing it from its stores after a couple of years. Now, I'm not trying to say that the concept of self-checkout is a failure altogether, but what I do think is that the current machines must have been designed with the focus on cutting labor costs and not with the customer at the center. Let's take a look at another example, Amazon Go. The technology here makes the experience seamless. The combination of app sensors, facial recognition, video, shopping history means that you don't need to stand in line for 10 minutes just to buy a sandwich. What Amazon did is they didn't just use technology to create a smooth checkout experience. They reworked the entire grocery shopping experience from the ground up. I'm not saying that they're a benchmark for retail experience, but what Amazon Go shows is the importance of really looking beyond just putting technology in the store, but actually rethinking the entire customer journey and the entire ecosystem. What could you do in your industry to rethink those friction points that your customers might be having from the ground up? Bad experiences usually, but not always, occur when a company adopts a new user-facing technology to minimize labor or cut operating costs rather than enhancing customer experience. That's why I believe that technology is never a substitute for a customer experience. Instead of forcing technology, use it as a tool to create a seamless transition between online and in-store environments. Some of the ways you can do that, you can create this smooth transition, is having a connected customer profile. Think of it as an omni-channel customer view. What it does, it creates a more personalized in-store experience for your customers and helps them make purchases faster and easier. The other thing is you can also find ways to create contextual moments in the customer journey. For example, you could have product details or product reviews handy and immediately available in your stores rather than expecting customers to pull up their phone while in store, open the browser or the app, wait for it to load. Finally, remember that technology is not a band-aid, it's a painkiller. And you take painkillers when you have a problem. One example of how we did this at Everlane was when we introduced the Save My Spot service last year. And I like, to make it clear, we're not a high-tech brand, but however, when we heard that our customers were commenting on the long lines and long waiting times in our stores, we needed to come up with a solution. What the service does is it allows you to enter your name and phone number on an iPad and put your information in a digital list for the fitting room. It works pretty similar to how restaurants keep track of their guests who are waiting for a table. And then you would get a text once your fitting room is ready. Now, we've covered seamless retail and the role that technology plays in retail user experience. Next is looking beyond the transaction. If good experience comes from frictionless transactions, then great experience moves past the transaction into emotion. Let's take a look at this example. This is a Blackbird bookstore. It's a small neighborhood bookstore, about 5-minute walk from my place. Now, it's not your typical bookstore. As you can see, typical bookstores usually have rows and rows of books. They're large spaces with hardly any room to sit. Now, what Blackbird Bookstore did is they did something very different. They created an atmosphere of discovery and wonder, as if you've peeked into somebody's home library. It's fun, it's spontaneous. They clearly spent a lot of time and they put in a lot of effort into curating their collection. When you walk in there, you just want to linger there, you want to flip through the books, you want to sit down and take the time. They also have a children's story time, so your kids can also have fun and really experience the magic of sitting down with the book. I go here almost every weekend. It's my go-to place, and I've been there probably dozens of times. And I kept asking myself, why do I go there? What draws me there? And then I found an answer. Blackbird Bookstore captured the essence of what a bookstore should be. Reading books is all about sitting comfortably with the book, relaxing, and expanding your mind. Great retail experience is all about capturing the essence of what you're selling. One way you can capture the essence is by telling a story. As humans, we are wired for stories, and every brand has one, every person has one. But instead of hiding it on your about page or in a printed collateral somewhere in the store, why not just make it into a scene? At Everlane, transparency is our story, and we want everyone to know where the product they're buying came from, how it came about, and its impact on the world. This is a denim pop-up experience that we created for the launch of our sustainable denim. Now, we could have told that story with a simple copy printed somewhere in the store, but why not put it on the wall and really tell the story? Another way to capture the essence is by evoking emotions. If you've been to a mattress store, then you probably relate to what I'm going to say now. Typically, mattress stores are not cozy at all. They're usually huge, brightly lit spaces. Nothing about those spaces says sleep. So this is the Dreamery sleeping experience by Casper. And what Casper have done is they've really created an experience out of a sleep. This actually space looks more like an art installation to me. It's cozy, it's private, it just feels magical. You just want to crawl into one of those little pods and take a nap. As humans, we seek a community. And today at Apple is a wonderful example of building a sense of community in retail environments. Today at Apple is a series of events that takes place at Apple stores. So they host these free events where you can learn a new skill or just see what's happening in the art world and get inspired by listening to amazing artists. You can also meet new people and just simply socialize and have a great time. Remember, it's not just sales that get people in the door. The most memorable retail experiences are the ones that tell an inspiring story, evoke emotions, or build a community. Ideally, all of the above. Whether you're telling a story about the product, inviting a customer to take a nap, or inspiring them to learn something new, all of these retail environments that actually don't feel like retail stores. And that's the great part about it. They've designed the customer experience down to the feeling that those customers have when using their products in its natural environment. Now, as we just saw, a memorable retail experience creates a space for storytelling, emotion, and community. It captures the essence of a product or service. And it also offers something unique, that unique service to your customer. The way we do it at Everlane is we offer a variety of evergreen services in our stores. For example, you can get a free personal styling session. You can also, as of recently, our customers can now text our brand ambassadors with any questions they might have. And if you're shopping in store and let's say you want to purchase a product that may not be available in store but only available online, you can order it online directly in the store and get it delivered to your door with a 2-day free shipping. Just think about it. What else can you bring to the experience of your brand? Now, we've covered what experience means in the retail space. How does this translate into e-commerce? In the last decade, convenience and speed defined e-commerce, but these are not longer the keys to success, and definitely not for repeat business. This decade is shaping us to focus on inspiration and personalization. If a dozen companies are selling nearly identical jackets, you'll need something other than price to differentiate yourself. Companies like Instagram and Pinterest are already showing us how visual storytelling and inspiration go hand in hand in shopping. And more brands are jumping into the content space and thinking of new ways to engage with their customers. Conversion is definitely still vital to the success in this space. There's no doubt about it. But we need to really look beyond the conversion for new ways to engage with the customer and really create that aha moment and special experience for our site visitors. While conversion is certainly one of the key success metrics, I believe that it doesn't always tell a full story. Conversion is a moment in the customer journey, not a final destination. Focusing on the post-sale relationship gives you an opportunity to build a long-term relationship with the customer. Let's take a look at another example of creating a great e-commerce experience. And that is building a customer trust. Customer trust is one of the key factors to success in e-commerce. User-generated content, high quality images, and secure checkout have become the baseline. Those are just the norm these days. Now, though, the expectations they extend beyond that. It includes privacy and being transparent on where and how your products are made. Everlane was built on the idea of radical transparency. And when it comes to our online space, we've taken transparency a step further. We show our customers where products are made. We tell you everything about the factory and the manufacturing practices that we use. And we also show you the costs, like where does the product cost come from? When you show your customer who you are and how you work, you take the first step toward building the trust. And I believe that trust is the first principle of conversion. Engaging customers in e-commerce now requires more from brands than it did 10 years ago. Convenience and speed is expected, but designing for trust and inspiration will give you the new keys to success in this place. What if you could design your own definition of experience? What norms would you throw out the window to create surprise, delight, and wonder for your customers? Thank you, and I would like to open it to questions.
Hey, hi Nadia, I'm back.
Hi.
I was keenly listening to your entire presentation, and I have just one line to say that you have truly done justice to the topic of the presentation. I really loved the way you explained the term experience and the examples that you used. Feels really great to hear that. And of course, Everlane, building such great experiences to influence customers in a better manner. That's really inspiring and aspiring as well for a lot of other businesses, and also I'm sure a lot of attendees who are listening to you as well.
Thank you.
Perfect. So I have one question from Isa Chow. So yeah, Isa is asking, how does Everlane conduct user ability test to evaluate a new feature or initiative?
Sure. I'd love to share more about that. So we use we do it in a couple of different ways. How we test the new features and collect feedback from our customers. It depends. It starts with really us kind of defining what is it that we're looking to get, right? What kind of feedback we want to get from the customers, and that kind of defines the rest of the study. So typically, we either do the traditional unmoderated user testing, where we ask customers to go through the list of tasks and kind of share with us their thoughts and their feedback on the experience. Or we also do the kind of like a live conversations, either remote, where we talk to the participants and have them go through the prototype or through the experience, and again, kind of share their thoughts and their feedback. That definitely allows for this is a way more, I would say, in-depth research, because it really allows you to kind of go deeper and uncover those underlying reasons, or emotions and sentiment, and really get the answers to why. And then we've also, in the past, we've also done in-person interviews where we would invite participants to, we would invite people to come over to our office, and we would conduct like one-on-one user interviews. Yeah, so that's typically how we collect customer feedback and do usability testing and user research.
Right. So do you give them freebies to everyone who comes to your office? Right?
So actually we use we use a tool called Validately to conduct the usability testing and the user research. Sometimes we would compensate our customers with just a fixed amount, and I believe in that it's definitely important to obviously compensate people for their time and their effort. So it's either fixed amount, which is determined obviously by the length of the study, and then what we also sometimes do is offer them like an Everlane gift card.
That sounds exciting. I would
Yeah.
love to also visit your office someday for the user research study.
Yeah.
Great. So the second question is from Katie. Katie has a question somewhat related to what you already answered. So she's more keen to understand how do you determine if you'll use, qualitative or quantitative data, and how each of these data type impact the decision making, especially for UX design choices.
Sure. Yeah. So I believe that really, like I said earlier, I believe it really that decision of whether, what kind of data to use and what kind of research method to use. It really comes down to like, what are you looking to find out? What are you looking to learn, right? So many times we have a lot of data, like internal data on customer behavior and like customer, how they behave on the site and how they interact with the site, but we're missing, like I said, that, the why behind it. Because many times just having the data doesn't tell you the full story. Like numbers don't tell you the full story, and you really need to understand like what are the motivations behind those patterns that you're seeing in your data. Like why are we seeing these numbers? Like what are the pain points customers having? And for example, if your data shows that your maybe like your site or your app is not performing the way you would want it to, so to me that is like a good indicator when doing a qualitative research can really help get some of those answers, and like really understand like more like the behavioral and like emotional aspect, and and the same is kind of true for the opposite. If I think there's definitely, I think, a lot of value in quantitative data in design and just product development in general. When you really, I think quantitative data is definitely like all about volume. So when you really want to kind of understand like the bigger trends and the bigger patterns of engagement, or like maybe like what how your customers navigate, things like that. So to me, just to kind of like summarize that, I think it really comes down to like what is the problem you are trying to solve, like what is the objective, or like what are the answers you are looking to get, and then taking it from there and like figuring out like obviously like what information you already have, what data you already have, and what are the gaps, and what would be the best what would be the right research method to fill in those gaps.
Right, makes a lot of sense. And just to add a little sentence there, just to summarize your answer, the qualitative data and quantitative data both complement each other and
Sure.
should be used, of course, together, because the quantitative data gives answers the what, right, and the qualitative data answers the why. So you need both of them to understand or get a clear picture of what your visitor or what your customers are trying to achieve by coming to your website. So
And sometimes, it's also hard to make a really big decisions based on, user interviews with maybe 5 or 10 participants. That's when quantitative data really kind of comes in. So yeah, exactly like you said.
right, that makes sense. Hope you got the answer, Katie. There are a lot of questions. Let me Okay, so this question is interesting from Jomer. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Jomer. I'm really sorry if I'm not. So Jomer is trying to redesign his e-commerce homepage, and he is requesting if you can share a few points of how he should go about designing homepage, what points he should consider, or maybe if you can also share some examples from Everlane's homepage.
Sure, yeah, definitely. Well, I think the first, probably with any project, I think the first thing is to kind of define is what is the underlying problem, right? You were saying like, why are you redesigning the current homepage? Is it because the engagement is low, or the customers are not finding it valuable, or is it more of a kind of a brand, or is it more of like a brand moment that you maybe going through like a brand redesign or something, and you just want to kind of like refresh your homepage and make it reflect your new brand look and feel. So obviously there could be variety of reasons. So I would, definitely like start from there. In terms of the kind of the process, we actually just recently redesigned our Everlane homepage as well. So typically also for a page like a homepage and at Everlane, brand and storytelling also plays such a big part, and such an important role in just our like online experience. So it was really like a collaborative effort between the product design, and then marketing and creative and brand teams. And so it came down to really kind of putting together the content strategy and defining like what is the information that need to live on this page, right? Like what is the purpose of this page, and like what do our customers expect to see on this page? And also, since homepage typically it's almost like a storefront, right? So how can we also give customers, especially new customers who are new to the brand, how can we quickly help them understand like what Everlane is about? Our prior to the redesign, we didn't have much information about the brand, so we really wanted to like, again, Everlane having being a very value-driven brand, it was really important to highlight that on our homepage. So that's why that was our kind of like a key emphasis, is to really redesign the homepage with this emphasis on brand and telling a brand story to our customers in an inspiring way. And that really, just like setting that as our like this is our goal, this is our core focus, it really helped then define the UX and the design and then the final outcome, which now we have a page that is much more inspirational, much more engaging. It helps customers who are new to Everlane to just understand, who we are, what we stand for, and also highlight like what are maybe like some exciting like fresh content, like what are the top products, since Everlane is also like a very kind of like launch based type of brand. So to summarize what I just said, I would suggest to really kind of start from what is the problem you're trying to solve, or like what is your kind of like North Star, right? And then going from there, and then and all the kind of like the typical design process from defining the information architecture and like the content strategy, and then UX, and then moving to the UI, and then user testing. Hopefully that answers your question.
Right, and that's a lovely answer because, and I'm sorry I'm taking up a few minutes here because this needs to be highlighted. Something which I believe is that, people typically think that for an e-commerce company, right, a homepage should be a place like, why would a visitor would love to read your story about the brand? Just put the products there, right? But if you have to establish that emotional connect from the get-go, you have to put the story first. And that is indeed a hard decision to make as well. So I really appreciate that Everlane is doing that. And it, of course, is working in your favor, I believe, right?
Yeah, and we have definitely we saw like a really positive response to the new page, and just doing those usability tests and talking to our customers and user research. What we found out is what really resonates with people. Like those storytelling inspirational moments, they really resonate with people. When people come to our site for the first time and they see that we show them about where their products are made, and we tell them about radical transparency and things like that. It really resonates with them. They're like, oh wow, what is it? Like, I've never heard about it. So yeah, exactly like you said, it's definitely a hard decision to make, and it's definitely it requires like a careful balance, right, between like product and brand and storytelling. But I think in today's day and age, it's really important to connect with customers on that level as well.
Right. Absolutely makes sense. Hope that answers all the question. I mean, your question well. Jomer, I believe. Sorry. So quickly moving on to the next question, and I think I really need to take this up because a couple of people have asked this. Mike, Alexis, Jonas. So they all are requesting if you could share maybe of one example or two examples of you doing UX research, and what changed, like how this activity changed the conversions of Everlane.
Yeah. So yeah, actually, one I can share an example of a research study that we did last year, when we were the problem we were facing is, as you just saw, we have Everlane offers sustainable denim products, and what we've been noticing is that our customers, they were having a hard time, understanding the difference between the difference between products. It can be, I have to say, it can be very kind of overwhelming and challenging to figure out how this fit or how this style is different from the other one. So that was kind of one problem. And then the second problem was really positioning our brand as the destination for denim, right? Which we knew we had a great product. A product that is made in a truly sustainable way, but our site experience didn't reflect that. So what happened is we decided to do kind of a deep user research study, and we talked to, I believe, 5 customers. So we conducted 5 one-on-one interviews. We also did a couple of other activities. We did like a cart sorting activity to really understand how people shop for denim, like where do they struggle, and what is important for them when they're shopping for denim. Because again, it's a very it's a very different type of product, and it's also a very different shopping experience than, let's say, buying like a t-shirt. There's certain things that people care about more maybe than others. So we did that study, and then that led to us coming up and designing this new denim experience on the site that is really like meant to educate the customer and help the customer understand our product assortment, understand how our denim is different, and also like help them pick the right one, help them pick the right product and the right style that's going to be, make the purchasing decision with confidence. So we, after we launched that site experience, we also did some like usability testing to again collect the feedback and just see how people responded to it. And overall, there was a pretty positive response, and we also the performance in the denim category went up, so there was an uptick there as well. So overall, I think it just showed. It just really emphasized the importance of using user research as a tool to kind of drive the design strategy and the product strategy and like inform that. So yeah, hope that answers your question.
Right. Lovely examples there, Nadia. Thank you so much. I see we are a bit out of time. I'll just take up one more question. All the remaining questions, guys, I'm really sorry I won't be able to take them up now, but I will pass them on to Nadia, right? And I'll let you know the answers, right, after this webinar. Right. So the last question I'm picking up is an interesting one from Anand. So Anand is asking, okay, I'll read it out. I have the age-old classic question about UX. How would you differentiate between UI and UX? Are there any definite aspects of the two roles on which the two can be differentiated?
Sure. So I think first and first, I believe that the two go really close together. You can't really,
Right.
you can't have a product with the great UX and like poor UI and vice versa. Because, at the end of the day, it's really about the two working together like a brother and sister and complementing each other and reinforcing each other. So to me, I would say UI is really about, to me, UI is more about probably like what and how, and UX is more about kind of the why and how, so to speak. But I mean, essentially, UI is it's what your customers or what your users directly interact with, right? It's like that, almost like a layer that's right in front of them. UX is like this complicated machine that's running behind and like powering their UI. If I were to just, kind of sketch it all out or picture it. But again, I always say that it's really about the combination of two. I don't believe I don't believe that one is more important than the other. I think the two are extremely important together, and there has to be a synergy between the two.
Understood. Hope that answers your question, Anand, because of course I too remain a bit confused about how to be. Is there an evident line between UI and UX? And yeah, both seems to complement each other. It's hard to
It's
separate
hard
the
to
two.
draw a line, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Perfect. So I think that'll be it for today. Thanks again, Nadia, for a wonderful session. I'm sure the audience must have loved it too. Of course, evident from all the questions, all the lovely questions that we received today. It was indeed an insightful session. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much.
Right. So yeah, guys, take a screenshot of this screen. Do visit vw.com/webcast to watch all the past sessions that we've done so far, and they have been equally insightful as today's. And we'll be putting up information regarding the upcoming sessions as well. So yeah, do visit the page and share it with whoever you think needs to know more about this. That's it for today. Have a great day, everyone.
Goodbye.